Welcome. Tonight we're not doing a typical analysis. Instead, we're sharing some stories. 3 true accounts. Really harrowing encounters that happen during winter getaways. You know, those places people go for peace, isolation. Sometimes they find something else entirely. Terror. These aren't campfire tales. They're drawn from real experiences from people who lived through moments where, well, safety just vanished.
It's true. That sense of isolation. It really strips away your defenses, makes you incredibly vulnerable to the unexpected. These settings can become, well, fertile ground for fear.
Exactly. Let's start with the first one. This happened in Colorado, a place called Snowmass. It involves 4 friends, a young woman, she's the one who later told this story, and her friends, Angel, Amy, and Jessica. It was their first big ski trip together. They rented this amazing Airbnb, 4 bedrooms, hot tub, overlooking the countryside. Sounds perfect, right? Well, the young woman telling this story, she was pretty new to snowboarding, struggling a bit on, I think it was a blue run, feeling frustrated, lots of falling. At one point, she just sits down on the side of the slope to take a break, and that's when it starts. This man approaches her. He seemed awkward on his board too, but he starts this really weird conversation. Then he actually follows her down the mountain. She stops again, and he sits nearby. And then he says something like, "So many pretty girls like you here," which was really strange because, you know, ski mask, helmet, goggles, you could barely see your face. So she tries to put him off, lies, and says her boyfriend is waiting for her. He just laughs, says he saw her arrive with all girls, just chilling. She was completely unnerved. Just said ew out loud and basically fled down the mountain, got away as fast as she could. She went straight to the lodge, called her friends. They all decided, yeah, let's get off the mountain early. It was only like 3 p.m. The whole thing just ruined the vibe. So that evening, they go out, have dinner, some drinks, try to shake it off. They get back to the Airbnb. Later, after using the hot tub, everyone goes to the rooms. But the narrator, she's an insomniac, so she stays up, just scrolling on her phone, and she thinks now, that might have been crucial. Staying awake, because then she hears it. Footsteps out in the common area, the living room or kitchen. The place had wood floors, you know, so the sound was really clear, unmistakable. At first she thinks, oh, it must be one of the girls, but then the doorknob on her bedroom door starts to twist. She just freezes, stops herself from calling out a name. Because why would they do that? Try to get in like that. Immediately she grabs her phone, texts her group chat. Who is that? Silence. No reply. They were all asleep. She creeps over to her door, listens. Footsteps moving around out there. When it gets quiet, she super slowly unlocks her door. Turns the knob, pushes it open just a tiny crack. She peeks out, scans the living room, and then she sees him. A tall black silhouette. A man. Moving from one bedroom door to the next, trying the handles. Just pure terror. She silently closes her door, locks it. And just prays her friends lock their doors too. Then she calls 911, whispering, trying to explain what's happening. And that's when the knocking starts. Light knocks. On her door, she watches the doorknob twist again. It holds. Locked. She's whispering to the 911 operator, please hurry, please hurry. The man outside, he must have heard her because the knocking stops. And then he starts like violently pushing on the door, banging on it. She can't take it anymore. She just screams, get out of here. I'm on the phone with 911 right now. Ooh, the banging stops. And then this voice, horribly calm, says, okay, sweetheart. Then she hears his footsteps walking away, retreating. The police arrived maybe 5-10 minutes later. Found signs of attempted entry, but he was gone. And that awful thought lingered. Was it the guy from the mountain? Had he followed them? They got some money back from Airbnb, cut the trip short. Drove out Sunday, stayed in a motel, flew home first thing Monday, just leaving it all behind.
It's a terrifying reminder, isn't it? How quickly that feeling of safety, especially in a vacation spot, can just be shattered. That invasion of private space, a locked room, it triggers such a profound sense of vulnerability. It turns a dream trip into, well, an absolute ordeal.
Absolutely. The ambiguity of whether he followed her, the targeted nature of it, truly awful. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Our next story also takes place in isolation, but the threat is, well, less clearly defined. Let's go to Oregon. This story comes from someone, a young person, who went to an isolated cabin near Mount Bachelor. They were trying to get away, clear their head after their father's suicide, and their father had always told them something. Pretty chilling advice, actually. Fear the living because it can actually hurt you. That's going to become relevant. So the cabin was about to be vacant, deep in the woods, only 2 other cabins nearby, both empty. They brought their dog midnight. First couple days are quiet, just what they needed. Then day 3, it snows heavily, and they noticed something odd. Footprints. Man-sized footprints, semi-fresh, around the cabin, leading off into the really dense part of the forest. At first, they try to rationalize it. Maybe someone is in one of the other cabins, but it felt off. Then, that night, the dog, Midnight starts acting really strange, jumps off the bed, runs downstairs, sniffing everywhere, agitated. They take Midnight outside, but he won't, do his business. Instead, he's pulling on the leash, staring hard into the woods where those footprints went. He's also sniffing around the side of the house, even looking up at the roof, which is weird. So they go back inside. Maybe half an hour passes, and then they hear it on the roof. A sound like hooves, or maybe heavy footsteps, spaced out, like a man walking. About 6 distinct steps right over their head. Midnight goes nuts again, runs right to the balcony screen door. The narrator decides, gotta be brave. Puts on a coat, shoes, grabs a flashlight, cigarettes, goes out onto the balcony. They shine the light up on the roof. Nothing. The snow. Undisturbed. Not a single mark. Okay, so maybe it was paranoia. They start to calm down a bit, looking up at the stars, the trees, and that's when they see it. And this is where it gets truly terrifying. In a tree, maybe 20 feet away, a bit taller than the cabin itself, there's a figure. It's described as maybe 8 or 9 feet tall. And things and skinny, unnaturally thin, man-like. It's crouched, squatting between 2 branches, long white arms reaching up, holding a higher branch. Its mouth is just wide open, no expression, just open. Midnight, behind them on the balcony, is pacing now, letting out these low barks. And the narrator feels this incredibly strong primal urge. Do not shine the light on it, just don't. Absolutely frozen. They slowly back up into the room, pulling Midnight inside with them. Lock the door immediately. They risk shining the flashlight back out at the tree. Nothing. It's gone. They close the curtains. But later that night, another sound starts. Tapping. Light, consistent tapping on the glass of the screen door, like fingernails. It goes on for almost an hour. Midnight just stares at the door, won't go near it. The narrator describes feeling this weird sense of an invitation. Like something wanted them to open the door, but then they hear their father's voice in their head. That advice, fear the living, telling them, stay in bed. Don't you dare open that door. And they listen to that inner voice. They stay put. Eventually, just from sheer exhaustion and terror, they pass out. As soon as they wake up, they pack everything, and just flee. They get out of that cabin as fast as possible.
Wow. That story, it really taps into something deep, doesn't it? The fear of the unknown, the inexplicable. When you encounter something, your brain just can't categorize. Is it human, animal, something else? The fear response can be overwhelming. That ambiguity is terrifying in itself. And being alone in that situation and in the wilderness, it just amplifies everything. That father's advice becomes almost like a psychological anchor in the face of something truly, unnatural.
Unnatural is definitely the word. The sheer strangeness of it. Okay, our final story takes us to Vermont. And this one feels much more like a human threat, but still deeply disturbing. Stalking. This involves another young person, the narrator, who took a girl named Melissa to their family's property for a snowboarding trip. The house is kind of isolated, top of a hill, woods all around. There's a shed where they keep their gear, and they usually leave the shed unlocked when they're there. It feels safe, remote, no reason to worry, or so they thought. So the narrator is teaching Melissa to snowboard on this little slope they made on the property. Suddenly, they hear a man's voice, clear as day, calling, hello, from the woods nearby, Dex Woods. They look, search around, nothing, just trees and snow, which is weird, right? You'd think you'd see someone against the white snow. The narrator tries to brush it off, maybe a hiker, lost, trying to rationalize it. Later that evening, they're outside by a fire pit, music playing, chilling out, then they hear it, crunching, someone walking in the snow. Close by, they immediately kill the music. Silence. The sound stops too. That feeling of unease comes rushing back. They decide, let's go inside. The next morning, the narrator wakes up. Melissa's already up and about. They glance out the window and see that the shed door is open. And then they see, the puff of breath, someone's breath escaping from behind the shed. They call out, Melissa! But her voice answers from inside the house. Instant goosebumps. The narrator yells out the window, who's in my shed? Seconds later, they see someone, dressed all in black, just the back of them, running away from the shed, disappearing into the woods. The narrator runs out, tries to follow, give chase, but they're too slow. Gone. They check the shed. Nothing's stolen. But there are footprints. Clear footprints leading from the woods into the shed and back out to the woods. Someone was definitely in there. Okay, so now they're properly scared. But the worst is yet to come. That night, they've been snowboarding all day trying to forget it. They're asleep. Melissa wakes the narrator up suddenly, shaking them. They both just lie there, silent, listening, for maybe 30 seconds. Then they hear it. A voice from outside. Long, drawn out, calling, help me! Melissa starts freaking out. Hysterical. And the voice calls out again, help me! The narrator creeps to the window, peeks through just a tiny crack in the curtain. Pitch black outside, can't see a thing. Then they have this idea, maybe if they cracked the window open, they can hear better, figure out where the voice is coming from. So they slide the window open just a tiny bit. And immediately they hear footsteps in the snow, but they're getting louder, really fast. Someone is running towards the window. They slam the window shut, lock it, and then K-N-O-C, K-N-O-C, right on the window pane. They've been seen. Melissa dives under the blankets, terrified. The narrator tells her, stay quiet, don't make a sound. They figure maybe if they don't respond, whoever it is will go away. The knocking stops, the calls stop, but the fear, it just hangs in the air for hours. They barely sleep, just waiting, listening. Finally, exhaustion takes over. They fall asleep the next morning. They go outside, and what they find is horrifying. Footprints all around the house, literally circling it, going from window to window. That horrifying realization just hits them. They weren't just visited last night. They'd been watched, stalked. Probably from the moment they arrived. They don't even hesitate. Pack the car, get out of there, drive straight home. Nothing was broken, nothing stolen. They never found out who it was or what they wanted. Just the absolute terror of knowing they were hunted in that isolated place.
That is profoundly disturbing. Being watched, stalked, especially somewhere remote, it's a unique kind of psychological terror. That feeling of your safe space being constantly observed, violated, even without direct confrontation. It erodes your sense of security on a fundamental level. The unknown motive just makes it worse.
Yeah. 3 stories, 3 different kinds of fear, but all rooted in that isolation, that vulnerability. It just goes to show, doesn't it? Sometimes the real horror isn't supernatural, it's human. Or maybe it's the completely unknown, like in Oregon. But isolation definitely makes everything worse.
Absolutely. That escalation of fear, that dawning realization that you're not safe where you thought you were, that's the common thread. It's a powerful reminder of how fragile our sense of security can be.
Well, thank you for joining us as we recounted these unsettling tales. We hope they gave you something to think about beyond just the chills. Maybe about awareness, instinct, how we react under pressure. If you found this exploration of real-life horror compelling, please do like, share, and subscribe to Horror Docs. We'll be back with more true stories and terrifying encounters. Until then, stay safe. And maybe think twice about who or what might be out there in the quiet places.